Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we are looking at internal canister filters. They get their name, can you believe it? Because they're like canister filters that go inside. They are located internally in the aquarium. It is the only type of filtration that poses no risk of leaking. It is fully contained inside. Even a sponge filter, anything run by air poses a leak. Because if the air pump fails, the pressure drops and water will siphon out. Now you say, oh, it's okay, I've got a check valve. Well, check valves are meant to be replaced. When was the last time you replaced yours? They go brittle, they go hard, they fail, okay? It happens. We have a rogue assassin still here, don't worry, he's not alive, he died a long time ago. Sort of fossilized, I think. Obviously not. Internal canister filters. They take up space inside the aquarium. Bit of a bummer. It's another power source going into water. Bit of a bummer. Some are not as customizable as others, so choose carefully. But what do we like about it? No risk of leaks. That is invaluable to a lot of people. Why would you have any risk of a leak if you can avoid it? Well, that's what us crazy fish people do on a daily basis. They can also be quite easy to maintain. Now, this is, in particular, this is an Oase canister filter. Just because somebody gave it to me, I would not buy money. I would not buy money. I would not pay money for this. It was given to me by somebody who did pay money for it and was so enraged by it, they gave it to me. So when they gave it to me, it had all of the OEM sponges in it. And it just didn't work. So, I mean, they may have changed the way that they put sponges in it. They may have changed things about it since this one's first release. I don't know. But this one is bloody awful without modification. But what we do like about this particular filter is this nozzle can either have a jet or some sort of spray bar. And that is quite a nice touch. What we don't like about this filter is that it must sit in a corner. Any internal can be put in a corner, but this one must be put in a corner, which means it's not as usable as the others. This one cannot be put on a flat surface, you know, just on the front of the glass. Imagine this table's your tank. That can't be done. It's just going to wobble around. My favorite thing about this is that it's magnetic. Yes, it leaves the pump behind, and that does need maintaining from time to time, but things that you need to maintain on a regular basis just come away with a simple release of magnets. Now, this, your impeller housing, your pump, it does come away from this bracket. This bracket stays in. Once you put it in, it stays there. But it's a little bit more fiddly. And yes, it's an impeller, not a propeller. People get that wrong all the time. If you don't know what the difference is, then ask your dad. I'll tell you what, no. The difference is that an impeller like this, the water goes in axially and leaves radially. You know, like a turbo. A propeller, it enters axially, leaves axially. That's the difference. So, what we've got in your cartridges normally is just sponge, but they have all the modification capabilities of the box filter or the hang-on back, but it's all contained inside. So, let's have a look at these. What you've got here is your little chamber. Now, let's imagine that water just comes in from the back and then comes up the front. What you could do, if you wish, is in every chamber, just have a small amount of sponge to screen debris, and then have some ceramic media, if you want, or some carbon, or some resins. You know, it is flexible. These are very, very good at being flexible. This one, however, see all the holes in it? They are drilled everywhere because this filter was awful, and I mean awful. It's just the simplest design was done so badly. Oh, I'm going to regret trying to put that back on, aren't I? The thing is just infuriating because the water enters via these, but not in the way that you would think. Common sense says water goes in there and is sucked up through a tower of sponge. Nope. Water goes in there from all three levels, these are linked, travels downwards to this choking point where the gap to come out is very, very small. Then comes up the back, is only taken into the sponge through these 3 sets of 3 slots, is then supposed to pass through the sponge into this small section and then up, okay? It doesn't snake through them. Once it's here, it just goes up to this one. See, that's the only place it was ever meant to go in. What a design flaw that is. How long before that little area clogs? How big's that sponge? That. It's quite a sizable sponge. Look at it. That little piece, as soon as that clogs, the filter's useless. Absolutely useless. And it's worse than that, because these are black sponges. These are my sponges. This was given to me and supplied to the original owner with blue sponges. Now, bearing in mind that I drilled the holes, okay? So none of that was there. The water could only access through here. It would need to reach this point and it would leave. The reason my sponges are in it, see that? They cover these 3, because the blue sponges didn't. Now, we all know water takes the path of least resistance. So at no point were any of these 3 chambers filtering any water at all. It would enter, flow straight over the top of the sponge and up. So within a day, and it was set up into a new aquarium, granted, I hadn't washed the substrate as much as I probably should have, granted, but within a day, this thing completely stopped. This was clogged to the point where no water was coming out. None, nothing, nada, nado. Just an awful design. Now, what they were going for, and they definitely achieved their task, their target, was that when you pull a traditional internal canister out of the tank, you have the same problem that sponge filters have. The debris sloughs off. It comes back into the tank, some of it. So that the way they engineered this is that the water was trapped in cups. The problem with that is you can end up with stagnant areas, and I certainly did, because the water, the fresh water that was coming in, was going straight over the top, incurring no resistance, and then out up towards the pump. So the only piece of sponge that was doing any filtration was that little bit in there. Now, with the holes drilled in, there's much more intake. Yes, this is where it will probably come in first, offers the least resistance. As soon as that little area there clogs, it's still got all this to suck in. And now that they're linked, they can draw from each other, which basically just means that this middle sponge can draw from 3 sides, 1, 2, and even from the front if it needs to, because there will be a suction from the one on top. Here, water can even be drawn in over there. The downside to this modification is that it completely voids and nullifies what they were going for, so that when you do pull this out, some waste can slough off. It's minimal. There's hardly anything that comes back out of this. And I would much rather a filter that actually works and sloughs off a little bit of dirt when I clean it, than one that doesn't work. Because I cloud the water up the smallest amount. But guess what? It's maintenance day. So the next thing I do is a water change. Most of that cloudy water just comes straight out. So yeah, guys, I don't know if the guys who made this changed the design, whether they've actually put the correct size sponges in. I don't know. This may be a very old model, but this one, the way it was supplied to people, doesn't work. Sorry, it just doesn't. So I'm really hoping that it has changed, because the fact that it sits in the corner, the fact that it sits, I mean, they are infuriating. The fact that it sits on magnets, like the Seche range. If you can get hold of a Seche, by the way, you know, like the Shark Pro, buy that. Buy that. I don't have one to hand because I gave mine away. You know those things where you have a conversation with someone and then you find yourself being a lot more generous than you intended to be. Yeah, that happened to me. It's a really good filter. Really good. But just like this one, their chambers are held on with magnets, completely with magnets. None of this taking stuff apart, none of that at all. It's just completely magnetized. It is excellent. But you notice how nice that was? You need a tall tank for this one. It comes in different models, 1, 2, and 3 chambers. This one needs to be a tall tank because even sat like this on top of your substrate, it's not the easiest thing in the world to just slide that into an actually functioning fish tank. Stuff gets in the way all the time. But yeah, so don't buy this unless they've changed the design. However, that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people or Oase fans will get mad about that, and that's fine. You write your raging comment in the comments, I won't read it. But as a general look at internal canister filters, they don't take up that much space. You can buy an appropriately sized canister filter for any size aquarium. You really can, and they are fantastic. They provide much better circulation than anything that's air driven because the water is pushed out almost to the other side of the tank in most cases, which provides you with the best circulation, the best aeration, and to be honest, because they are power driven, you know, that impeller is doing some work. They really do churn over some water. The mechanical filtration of them is very good. If you want clear water, this is, I believe, where you should start, with an internal canister. I don't think hang-on-backs, sponge filters, box filters, undergravel filters are an exception. They are very good. But really, this is where you need to start for really clear water. I don't use them because, well, what is the, did it say the wattage on this? 7 watts. It's not a massive amount. But if I had one of those in every single tank, that's an awful lot of plugs, and I don't need that in my life. So air or canister filters where proper filtration is necessary. If I've left anything out, which I probably have because this has been a bit of a rush, I'm on a lunch break. I'm sorry guys, I fell behind. This should have come out last week. The next one that will be coming out this week is a big video on brine shrimp, or baby brine shrimp, or the correct term, Artemia. That one really is going to be informative. I'm pretty confident there's going to be some stuff in there that most people don't know. But on that note, I've got to get back to work. I hope I haven't left out too much. They are a great piece of kit. But again, like everything, it all depends on what you are trying to achieve. So that is internal canister filters. Have a great day. Find a reason to smile.